We're now joined by political analyst Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, who's with the Nelson Mandela University Center for Security and Conflict Resolution. Professor Breakfast, firstly, congratulations on your professorship, but quite an interesting briefing that we saw today from the President, of course, selecting a number of politics editors and reporters in this country and choosing to have a sit-down with them post an NEC meeting. Overall, the sense that you got from how the entire session was conducted and whether or not it was useful for the President to have done this. And of course, the big issue is that he needs to do more of them.
Thank you very much, Kathy, for having me. I think the setup was good, in terms of interacting with the media colleagues. What stood out for me was a great deal of emphasis by the President on local government, because I was just asking myself a question, why there has been this emphasis on local government. I think it's because there is an appreciation by the ruling party that local government is in the front line of service delivery, but also there is an appreciation that there is a symbiotic relationship between voter turnout and a slow pace of service delivery. My view is that, because we have upcoming general elections, if you have a slow pace of service delivery, voter turnout tends to be very low. So I think that there seems to be a worry by the ruling party that if this issue is not addressed, it might be dealt with a blow. But besides that, there were also other issues such as our foreign policy and also the delegation that the President led to try to mediate the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It's just that I think it could have been good if there was a question about the upcoming conferences of the leagues. The ANC has been on the back foot in terms of having their leagues. We saw last week the ANC Youth League electing its leadership. But yeah, I think everything went well except those issues that were omitted.
It's interesting because you talk about the emphasis of the President on local government, and that's really where South Africans feel the failures of government and even, the failures in service delivery the most. And the President today speaking to those journalists saying that he feels that the media and his critics to a large extent have been incredibly unfair towards him in that he's faced the toughest challenges as a president post-democratic South Africa. And one gets the sense that he doesn't think he's been given quite enough credit for just the challenges he's had to navigate through.
I think the challenge is that he made a lot of commitments in the build-up to his ascendancy to power that he has not honored. For instance, when he was campaigning to be the president of the ANC, he said that, he was going to grow the economy. And, as well as I do, that our economy has not been growing the way it should have. Unemployment at the moment is sitting at 32%. It is worse amongst the youth. A lot of people lost jobs under the circumstances of COVID-19. We've seen corruption being worse. So I don't think that there has been an unfairness by the media towards him. I don't think his government has been performing the way it should have. Full stop. Other arguments that he was putting forward, I think are just excuses in my view. If you look at corruption, he talks about state capture, but we've seen under his leadership people using social and political capital in pursuit of accumulation, and that is the same as what had happened during the so-called state capture era.
Let's talk again then just on this issue of where we are in terms of the organization. He sounds quite upbeat about where the ANC finds itself. Of course, we know that on the other side of things, opposition parties are coming together meeting and plotting, for lack of a better phrase, the unseating of the ANC, and yet he believes that the party is in the best place that it has been in, and quite frankly, he doesn't sound too worried about what that will mean for next year's election.
The possibility that the ANC might lose power in the upcoming general elections is not far-fetched. And I think what compounds the situation is the fact that opposition parties are joining forces, posing a threat to the ruling party. And of course, I've pointed out earlier on that the ruling party has not been performing the way it should have. So that is going to influence voter attitudes of the electorate. So I think he was not being honest when saying that, the ANC might do well in the elections. I think there is a sense that the ruling party might lose. For instance, why did the deputy president of the ANC arrange a meeting with other leaders of opposition parties to discuss a framework of coalition formations if the ANC is not worried about a possibility of losing power? They are worried.
One of the elephants in the room, Professor Breakfast, is of course what's going to happen next month when South Africa hosts the BRICS summit. The president again promising an announcement that is imminent about what this country is going to do. No clear outcome, at least from what I've seen out of the NEC meeting, on what the position of the NEC is when it comes to Vladimir Putin and him coming to the country for that visit. I'm sure we might hear more from the Party Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, tomorrow when he gives the outcomes of the NEC briefing. But judging by what the President has said today, do you think we have any better idea of what the thinking around that conundrum is?
Of course not, Kathy, because it's not clear whether Putin will be coming down here or not. But if he does come down here, there might be national consequences because, other countries of the global north have been posing a threat to us that they might employ soft power towards us in the form of maybe sanctions. In particular, the U.S., that we enjoy economic benefits out of our relationship with them, but at the same time, we don't want to support them politically. So there might be, national consequences if Putin comes here and is not arrested. But I think in the light of what has happened in Russia in terms of the insurgency or the rebellion, maybe he might want to stick around back home and not want to come and maybe send someone else. Then that will be a way out for us as a country. Otherwise, if he comes here, I think there might be national consequences which might compound our domestic affairs.
Do you think that the party is still at a point where it genuinely is unclear about what the next step should be?
With regard to
Russia,
our relationship with Russia?
No, with regard to whether Putin with regard to what should happen rather, if Putin decides to attend the BRICS summit.
Kathy, my view is that if you look at our foreign policy posture, in public, we say that we are neutral. We are not aligned to any side. But in practice, I think we are aligned to a particular side. We do side with Russia because the ANC received military and financial support, during the liberation struggle. It's just that we don't want to say that in public. And that is what has angered the global north. And I'm not saying that they are right or they are wrong. But I think the issue in question has divided the ruling party because the worst thing that could ever happen to us is for us to have sanctions. In the light of what is happening now in terms of the gap between the haves and the have-nots, unemployment and so on, it will really deal with the country in a negative way.
All right, we'll leave it there. Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, he's with the Center for Security and Conflict Resolution at the Nelson Mandela University.